Hi there, welcome to another episode of the Talking Thursday Asthma Series. My name is Benicia Nshualati, and this is Parenting an Asthmatic Child. Sit back, relax, and learn. In our last episode, we studied what asthma is. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the causes of asthma. There are 5 major causes of asthma, and they are genetics, environmental factors, immune system factors, physical conditions, and occupational hazards. We are going to be taking these causes one at a time. And so today, our major focus is on genetics. Before we get into the nitty-gritties of today's episode, I need us to kindly take note of this. Everything shared on this page is solely based on experience and research. I am an asthmatic patient and I nurse a child who's also asthmatic. Whatever you hear from me will be solely based on the things that I have experienced over the last 6 years and all that I have learned through reading, right? I am not a medical professional. I have not studied anything in relation to asthma, and I'm certainly not an expert when it comes to it. Let's get into the details of what genetics is all about. Please take note that there's a difference between genetics and genes. So I'm going to define these two to you and try to explain them in a language you can understand. So when we talk about genes, it has to do with a physical unit. These are specific inherited segments of DNA, okay? They detect traits such as eye color, hair type, and the risk of certain diseases, okay? While genetic is a study of science, this is the field of study where the focus is on heredity. It examines how genes are transmitted, how they function, and how they contribute to our health and disease. Now let's look at it from this angle. All right, genes are part of a book, okay? So let's say it's a book that has to do with languages. Genes is a language, an aspect of it, right? While genetics is the entire study of the book or the language. All right, the entire study of the book or the language, and how the story or the language is passed on from generation to generation. Basically, that's how genes and genetics are. Now let's link this to asthma. So when we say that an individual's asthma or a child's asthma is caused by genetics, it basically means that the family he or she is coming from has a history of asthma, in simple terms. Okay, so it means that probably one parent or both parents, or maybe extended family members like grandparents, cousins, uncles, aunts, have asthma, and it has affected this child. Okay, when it comes to my story, my journey, this is what happened. I have a father with severe allergies. He passed it on to 2 out of 3 of his children. Okay, and unfortunately, when I turned 24, I was officially diagnosed of asthma. I had adult onset asthma, not childhood onset asthma. Okay, and then I had a child who also got asthma. Okay, what happened is that the allergies that my father suffered, which was passed on to me, increased my risk of having asthma, and eventually I got it. And then I am one parent who has asthma, and there's the other parent who doesn't have asthma. Per virtue of the fact that I have asthma, I increase my child's chances of getting asthma by 25% per study. And If it just so happens that his father too had asthma, we would have increased his chances of getting asthma to about 50 to 70% or even more. In my child's case, he got it because when you go down into our family, it's not just my parents that have asthma. I have a few other extended family members that suffered asthma. So it's a long line of asthma. It doesn't just come from me. It is coming from my grandparents, transferred to my parents, transferred to me, and in other words, to my child. Now, when you go to my child's father's side, his grandmother is also asthmatic. Now, these factors put together increases my child's risk of having asthma. So it wasn't entirely surprising when it turned out that he was asthmatic too. There are other factors that contributed to how severe his asthma is. But basically, when we say that someone's asthma is genetic, then it means that it is he or she has it per virtue of the fact that there's a history of asthma in the family. I hope we understand. Now I need us to take note of this. Even though asthma has a high hereditary component, it is considered a complex multifactorial disease. This simply means that there are several factors that could cause asthma. There is no one gene that causes asthma. Scientists have said or identified over 100 different genes that could possibly trigger an asthmatic attack or asthma in an individual. Okay, often it is linked to our immune system and how our airway structure is. So please take note that there could be an individual who has asthma, but it is not because there's a parent that has it or there's an extended family member that has it. It is simply because there's probably an environmental factor that causes his or her asthma. That's all I have for you today. I hope you have learned something. Until we meet again in our next episode, this has been the Talking Thursday Asthma series on parenting an asthmatic child. My name is Benesia Nshualate. Please stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next. Bye.